Okay, what's up, YouTube? Okay, I want to talk about the black middle class. Okay, now I've already talked about how the white media doesn't want to acknowledge the black middle class, and neither does Black America. And I said we don't do so in terms of white America. They don't acknowledge it because it shows that black people are doing well, okay? And for the most part, America likes to see, America wants to feel sorry for black people, okay? America doesn't want to see black people who are doing better than they are. It's a shot to the ego, right? They're struggling, but yeah, you have a black family that's doing better than they are. And then in terms of Black America, we don't want to see it because it shows that you can use education, you can use professionalism to get ahead in life. Okay, we would rather embrace the athlete or the musician or whoever is famous, in terms of how they got to America's upper class. Because they're the exception to the rule. They didn't have to necessarily worry about their GPA and being professional and holding down a 9 to 5. Okay, and for the PhDs of the world, they often overlook it because it's counter. We are downtrodden and we have no opportunity, and America has forgotten about us. The black middle class pretty much destroys all that. Okay, because once again, it's a whole bunch of people who use education, who use professionalism, who use values, who use the whole idea of, financial knowledge to put themselves in America's middle class. So there's an avoidance on both sides. But I want to talk about my gripe with the black middle class, considering how I grew up as well. Let me start off with this story. Most of my friends, growing up, you were either black or Mexican. That's what it was. So in a sense, I was growing up around other middle-class Mexicans. And for the most part, a lot of people don't talk about this group, but there's definitely a middle-class Mexican population, especially in Southern California. They've been here for a very long time. I have friends whose grandparents were born in America, who have great-great-grandparents who were born here. So they go back generations. So there's definitely a Hispanic or Mexican middle class. And growing up, what I noticed is that they were very strict. Okay, the parents did not play around with the whole idea of allowing the gang culture to infiltrate what they were trying to do. So, the sons weren't allowed to have bald heads or, wear the extra long shorts with the with the high socks and the loafers, or the baggy jeans that, they'd pull up to the waist, or to the chest. They were called solos out here. That was the brand. They weren't allowed to do any of that. You had to be clean cut. It was almost as if you had to be the opposite of what they were. And they weren't embarrassed to say it. They didn't care. The girls weren't allowed to, walk around with heavy makeup and, maybe piercings here and there. It didn't fly. They were very hardcore on it. And now that I'm older, I see why. Okay, I definitely see why. Because a lot of the, my friends, my Hispanic friends, both the male and female, they have carried that with them. So they're doing successful. In college, they all networked together, and there was no mixing of, maybe that gang culture, okay, or that deviant culture with what their parents had given to them. Because once again, their parents were very hardcore when it came to not doing it. I had buddies who said they've never met their uncles, or they never see their uncles, or they never see their cousins, and it's because the parents didn't want that mixing to go on. Yeah, when it was appropriate, they saw the family, but it was never, this open communication and constant visitation, because once again, the parents were like, this is what we do. We're not going to feel embarrassed about it. So they didn't do the whole, well, we feel guilty, we turn our back. They're like, no, this is what we have. Okay? If we were in Mexico, this is what we would be doing. We wouldn't be part of this deviant culture. We would be landowners. We would have some sort of pride, some sort of code of conduct. So we're going to bring that over here, and I don't care who doesn't like it. That was their mentality, and I respect that mentality. Okay, that's what I was around. But in regards to the black families that I was around who's middle class, that didn't happen. The parents were very lackadaisical, okay, when it came to establishing a code of conduct. So oftentimes there was a blur between hood culture and middle class black kids. Okay, so you had the kids, the boys who wanted to act tough, and the girls who was running around acting wild, right? And the parents would just say it's a phase, or the parents would let it ride, maybe because they got pressure from the family, or, pressure from here or there. And it was almost as if a lot of them were afraid to say, this is what we do. I don't care if you don't like it. Call me a sellout. I don't really care. In an ideal society, in an ideal black community, this is what we would be doing. So if you don't like it, to hell with you. Didn't see that. So as a result, I had friends who grew up just like I did. Parents, both middle class, 4 bedrooms, a basketball court, the pool in the back. Some went to jail, some are in jail, some got killed. Girls got pregnant, girls got addicted to drugs. Just all sorts of disheartening stories. Even now, I'll catch up with the homie from, around the way, and we'll just reminisce on just a whole bunch of people that we all went to, middle school with, elementary school, and it's always bad. I hate those conversations because it's always bad. Oh, so-and-so's in jail. Oh, so-and-so got shot. And I'm like, we all grew up middle class. I don't get it. We all played city basketball on Saturdays, and our parents bought juice boxes and Rice Krispies. That's what we did. And we all went to get pizza after the game. What the hell happened? We all shared our science projects on, when the science projects were due, and, we were all these middle-class black kids growing up. But what happened? Once again, a lot of it had to do with the parents not cracking the whip and attributing certain behaviors to, it's just a phase and they grow out of it. But in reality, they didn't. Even now, my little sister is a senior. And I remember a lot of her friends growing up. Okay, when she was in elementary, I would pick them up or, drop them off at home, or they would knock on the door. Can we use your basketball court, or can we borrow a video game? So I remember these kids, all these black middle class kids. And now that my sister's a senior, I'm like, okay, I'm curious to know what people are doing. And once again, it's a whole bunch of nothing. Why? Because the parents were lackadaisical. These are the same kids running around with tattoos, not doing homework, just running the streets. Some are, in pseudo gangs. Some of these girls is getting pregnant or just wilding out, sleeping with multiple men. And I'm like, what's going on? And on the flip side, right, you have the middle class Hispanics who are on point. This is what you do. This is who you socialize with. Right, to the point where you knew if you're Mexican and middle class, those are the people you kicked it with. So it wasn't like you were alone or isolated. You just hung out and you just socialized with other middle class Mexicans. That's what my friends did. Even in college, the ones that I met, that's what they did. So they had their own social network. They had their own life that was separated from that deviant sort of rebellious culture. But for blacks, we didn't have it. And the problem, is that when you're middle class, you don't necessarily have generational wealth. So you don't pass on money. All you really do is pass on values. It's not like upper class or, that elite class where, quite frankly, your children can chill because you have so much money that you can create opportunity. But when you're middle class, you don't have that. All you really have is your values that you pass on, and your kids have to embody that, and that's how they're going to be successful. And a lot of other middle class groups understand this. You know, the Asians who are middle class, you know, not necessarily upper middle, the Indians, all these other groups, they know that they don't have the money. All they have is their culture and set values. So they defend it well, and they don't allow their kids to deviate from that. But with a lot of black parents, like I said, who are middle class, this is constantly happening. The whole blurring of the lines, the whole, I'm going to let my son do this or my daughter do this because it's cool. I don't want my son or daughter to be isolated. And at the end of the day, it comes back to bite them in the ass because the parents can't protect them. The parents can't say, here's some money, get your life turned around. They can't. They don't have that power. So, you know, in closing, you know, this is just, you know, more conversation to the whole black middle class. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say and how you feel. Once again, it's just me sharing my perspective. Y'all take it easy. God bless.